Lotto America from the Nebraska Lottery is here, and it only costs $1 to play. It has a $2 million starting jackpot with drawings every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. What's more, you can add the All-Star bonus for an additional $1 to multiply any prize won. So unwrinkle that dollar bill in your glove box and play today. Lotto America top prize odds 1 in 26 million.
Old School with DP and J.
And Todd Bowles, I'm gonna tell you this, DP. His voice does not match his body type.
That's what I'm saying. He's never I don't know how you can be led by Todd Bowles' voice.
That's a fireable offense anyway.
Like his facial expression is top notch. Then his voice, because it's literally you're there expecting. It's like Mike Tyson.
93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Load up on meat and more this summer at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through July 2nd is 20% off grass-fed New York strips. Plus, buy a mystery box and get 3 New York strips free. Also, buy 1 salami, get 1 50% off. Locations at 84th and Havelock and 30th and Yankee Hill in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Welcome into the LIBA Business Hour, sponsored by Nats to Tasseling, highlighting local independent businesses in and around Lincoln on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, LIBA Executive Director Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And it's another beautiful Saturday morning, and you're listening to the LIBA Business Hour. Thanks for joining us today. As always, with me is Gary Tharnish from Home Design Real Estate Group. Morning, Gary.
Good morning. How are you doing on this beautiful day?
I am doing fantastic.
I know. It's just gorgeous out. I was sitting on the porch, and then I had to go do a little bit of work, and kind of be a great day to just be hanging outside.
Yep. And our guest today, it's so funny how God works sometimes, because we had a guest who kind of backed out on us at the last minute. And Thursday night, my wife and I were at this event, sat down. Who walks up and sits down next to us? But Pastor Tom sits down. And I thought, this is a perfect opportunity to fill in, because I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and we're excited to have you.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. What a blessing. And Gary, it's been a while. Do people know you're an awesome musician? Are they aware of that?
Well, hey, people, I'm an awesome musician.
There you go. Now they know.
Okay, it's out there now. You know, people I've jammed and played with know that, I guess. But yeah, I started playing classical piano when I was 6.
Wow.
And drums when I was 7. So yeah, it's my passion. I love it. Yes.
You're good. And Travis, it was really interesting when you sat down, because you were just sitting there by yourself, and I felt bad for you. So
it was a pity sit. That's what you gave me.
Wow.
Look at this poor guy. Yeah, she was probably off talking to somebody. But I got to tell you, this is probably the coolest compliment I have ever heard. When my wife finally came back and sat with me, when she would be seen with me, we talked for probably half an hour, 45 minutes. And as we were driving home, she goes, you know what? Just meeting Tom and talking with him for 45 minutes, I feel like we've been close friends for 10 years.
Oh, my.
I thought, wow, what a great compliment, and totally accurate. Because I know we've kind of bumped into each other, over the years, but I feel the same way. I feel like I've known you for 20 years.
Well, I feel the same.
We were headed out to Glacial Till last night for my niece's birthday party, and my daughter was with us. She was in the back seat riding out there, and she's like, are you doing the radio show tomorrow? And I go, yeah. And she goes, I haven't told you, Dad, but you have perfect face for radio. Who's your guest? And I go, okay, I'm not buying your dinner. And it's Pastor Tom. And she goes, oh, I love his voice all Christmas long. He has the best radio voice. It just, I listen to the Christmas music, and then he talks, and it just calms me down. I said, okay, well, be on at 9 a.m. tomorrow. She goes, Dad, I sleep until 11 on Saturday. But anyway,
that's why we repeat it on the podcast.
Right. Exactly.
So, very cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. And I know you're running the People's City Mission, and that's mostly what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So just give everybody, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the City Mission, but in case there's one or two people out there that aren't, just kind of give us that 30,000 foot view about the mission.
Sure. Well, the mission was actually started in 1907.
Oh, wow.
We're one of the oldest homeless shelters in the United States. We were started 50 years before another shelter in Nebraska.
What?
Wow.
And the reason for that is we had, and in fact, we still have the third largest train yard in the country. So back at the turn of the century, most of the homeless were guys and they were hobos. And so Lincoln had a lot of hobos running around here. And the strategy of the city at that time was kind of to give them a vagrant charge and throw them out of Dodge, kind of like that Supreme Court decision just made where that city is just tossing their homeless people. I think it passed yesterday. Some Supreme Court upheld the city being able just to toss their homeless people and not to help them at all. We were doing that, and Lincoln, was not a very kind place to be. And so I think 120 churches got together and they started the People City Mission. And actually, it was a little checkered. What they did is they wanted to go where the guys were, so they went into the red light district of Lincoln and bought the leading house of prostitution called Lydia's House, and that's where we started. And we started the mission there. In fact, it's still around, not the red light district, but
Not Lydia's house,
but Lydia's house. But it's over on 9th and O'Hare, just a couple blocks away, and it says Mission Art Store. That was the mission from 1907 until, gosh, I think it was the 80s when they finally moved us out. And so the mission has a long, long history with Lincoln. In 1915, there was this big Russian-German immigration. And again, the city was dumping sewage on them. So the mission stopped that, taught their kids English, and got them sort of acclimated into Lincoln. In 1925, our executive director, who was an ex-boxer, started the community chest, which is now the United Way. So in a sense, we kind of started the local United Way here in Lincoln. In 1929, in the Great Depression, we had a debt-free building. So we mortgaged it and created work projects for the city to help get it through the Great Depression. In the 30s, we started the police corps chaplaincy. In 35 or 38, we started what was then called the Urban Indian Center. We've just had a lot of connection to Lincoln's history. And so a lot of people know the mission. If you've lived in Lincoln at all, most people know who we are. We've been the only homeless shelter in the city for all these years, which is actually not a good thing. Omaha, I often share this, they have 4 shelters, all bigger than the People City Mission.
Jeez.
And they're just twice our size. They house almost 2,000 people a night. And so, we've been the only homeless shelter in the city over these years. And it's been a very integral part of trying to help the homeless during this time. And then I started in 2004, and of course it was pretty small back then. It was about $1.5 million, and we've just used some kind of business principles, because that's my background, and we've been able to grow it. I think to one of the larger agencies in Lincoln. I think, pretty sure we in our final stats last year we helped over 30,000 unduplicated people in the city. A lot of that coming from our help center, and we raised about $20 million.
That's fantastic.
And only 0.5% of that comes from any kind of grants. People hear city mission, they think somehow the city supports us. Actually, they give us a little bit of money, but it's not much. And we basically support ourselves from I think it's a little over 33,000 donor families. Our average donation is only $300. And so we're guessing at least half the city giving us something or getting something from us. And so we kind of march that way, and we try to help as many people as we can, and it's been a fun time.
When you talk about that and this city, donating and people helping you, I really see a lot of that going to this subscription idea. We're all used to subscriptions now, right? So I used to buy albums, and then I bought cassettes. What were the big ones called? Oh Lord.
8 tracks?
Yeah, those. And built a big box for the back of my Nova for those. But now we're in the day of subscriptions. And I know there's a lot of nonprofits now that are going to doing just like a monthly subscription. Like, hey, I'll, ACH $25 out of my account every month, and it's going to go to the city mission and help. Do you have anything like that? Or is it mostly really events or silent auctions? I know you do the Tree of Lights, and
most of it's monthly giving, but not subscriptions. We just
get them.
We just send out appeal letters, and people respond, or they just have a natural every month they give to us. And so we do it that way. And we have one event, Starry Nights. That's the only thing we do.
I've made things for that.
Yeah. And that's one of our great events. We have a lot of businesses that do events for us, though. And we do that. But our only event that we put on, really just 2, one small one and one big one. The small one is Give Me Shelter, in which I just did that. I spend 24 hours without food or shelter out at usually a Hy-Vee or someplace. And We get mainly water in that event, and then Starry Nights we sell Christmas trees, and that
Yep.
helps us.
Yep. I've made a lot of wreaths for that over the year, having the flower shop and stuff, and
Yeah,
working with Michelle.
yeah,
She's pretty amazing out there. So let's talk a little bit about homeless.
yeah.
You know, when I started playing drums at Connect Church, which is right up there at the
Yeah.
City Mission, I was very surprised, very surprised the very first time I played. You know, you have the little breakfast back in the corner, and we were done practicing and just chatting with a few people. And it hit me at that point that, you know, my perception of homeless was always what I saw on the streets downtown,
Right.
or going to the theater.
Mhm.
And I met this young lady. She was in her mid 30s. She may not have felt real young, but you know, at my age, everybody's really young. But anyway, I met this young lady, and she was at the shelter with her 3 children. And I started chat with her. And what had happened with her is her husband just abandoned them
Yeah.
in Grand Island. And they didn't have any family or any advocates for them there. They ended up here at the shelter. And of course, she was trying to find a job. She'd been a stay-at-home mom. And it really hit me that, you know, a perception sometimes of homeless is just what we see as we're driving around and
Right.
walking. And it's so much more than that. Chatting with somebody last night that said, I wonder what percentage of homeless choose to be homeless. I thought it was kind of an interesting question, because I can't imagine being like working your full-time job. Yeah, I'm just going to be homeless from here on out. I know there's a lot of issues that you see people coming
Right.
in, and it could be addiction, so on and so forth. But I think it's forgotten how many times it's just a lot of us in America live paycheck to paycheck, and it
Right.
doesn't take much to become homeless, especially if you don't have the resources around you of family.
Yeah.
What's your views on that? I mean, you see this on a
Sure.
a daily basis. Is there?
Yeah, you know, I think it changed my view a lot when I first came to the mission. I sort of held that same thing, that a lot of the homeless are guys and they're drug addicts, they're transients, you know, they're people that, you know, that's their lifestyle. Um, I have come to find that homelessness is actually a very complex issue, and there are a lot of different reasons people are homeless, and there's a lot of different solutions needed to help them. It isn't homogeneous. It's actually it's a very diverse group of people. Um, Starting with number one, women and kids are by far the biggest issue of homelessness. I think it's 25-30% of all the homeless in the United States are kids, and that's
Jeez.
going to grow. I'm guessing that'll be half in the next 20 years. Um, I saw a stat recently that from the Nebraska Domestic Violence Association. I don't know what they call themselves, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but they said 1 in 3 women are being abused in Nebraska.
Wow.
So if that was true in Lincoln, that's 50,000 women. And even if 5% needed to leave home, which is a pretty conservative number if that's accurate, that's 4,000 or 5,000 women, not including their kids.
Right.
And we have one domestic violence shelter in the city that's 50 beds, 60 beds. And so what most of these people do is they couch surf. They go from, you know, if they're staying with you, Gary, or Travis, you know, it's a good situation. But in some cases, it's not a good situation. And
Yeah.
so there's real issue. And I think that's probably why Omaha has, among one of the reasons why Omaha has more shelter. I think they do a better job of that than we do here in Lincoln, because I think we still think they're guys or chronically homeless men. And we have no intention of becoming a domestic violence center. It is a big reason, but also women, divorce, eviction, things like that. You know, women in crisis is I think, the leading thing. Men in Lincoln, you know, we have any population. It can vary from 2 to 3 to 400 depending on any time. We have guys that are sort of chronically homeless here. We're not a big spot for the chronically homeless, you know, and part of that is as nice as Lincoln is. I mean, look at the weather, guys. If I was a homeless chronic guy, I can go to California or I can go down to Florida. The weather's better.
Sure.
Panhandling's better. We're kind of cheap here in Lincoln, you know, unless you, we are, you know, unless you go to the university and shake down the kids for their money because they're intimidated. The fact is you can't get good money here compared to other cities.
Interesting.
They give you better services. San Francisco, they'll give you a cell phone. I don't give anybody a cell phone.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
And so if I'm a homeless guy, you know, unless I have a nexus to Lincoln with the weather, the panhandling, the services, why am I going to stay in Lincoln, Nebraska? And so we don't draw massive amounts of chronically homeless men here in the city. That's not our issue. It was when we started, you know, with the rail, but nobody rides the trains anymore.
Sure.
So the hobos are gone. the trains are gone, and so that's really not our big issue. The big issue we have is really, I think, into the future, the next 20 years is going to be women and kids. That's going to be our biggest problem, needing to meet a need as we sort of go forward. So people can be homeless because they have a financial crisis. They can be homeless because of divorce. They can be homeless because of abuse. They can be homeless because of mental health.
Right.
They can be homeless because of drugs or alcohol. You know, I think we did a survey about 5 years ago, and only 26% of our guests at that time had any drug or alcohol problem. It was not the main reason why people were there. And so, again, people, they don't really fully understand there's a diverse population with diverse
Right.
stories, and everything has to be sort of thought through. It's kind of like this thing, and I know starting in California, we've been a big here on permanent supportive housing. That's the big solution. Well, it's part of the solution, you know, um, uh, especially for the crisis homeless. That's a good thing. But I'm still under the belief that many people that are struggling with some things, what they need more than housing is mental health
Yep.
counseling and things like that. And I think we've put less money into that and more money into housing. We have a number of guys at the mission who got housing, went in and drank themselves to death, just died in their thing, you know, being drunk in their house. So we sort of housed the problem, but we didn't solve anything. And,
Right.
and that's happened all over the country. And so I think when we're looking at a solution, it's important to look at a lot of different kinds. I think the government tends to be monolithic sometimes in their approach. It's just like
No.
one size fits all, you know.
Of the United States
Yeah.
government.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
that one. Yeah, that one. So it's a complex issue.
It is, you know, and you think about like giving these, like I had a buddy that's like, why don't they just build a bunch of tiny homes and give everybody a home?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, again, you take somebody that maybe has obviously has a mental health situation, but
Yeah.
you know, if it's loneliness, low self-esteem, all these things, and then you put them in a little house by themselves. Yeah, you know, it's just like they drink them, whatever. It's not necessarily the answer.
No.
Read a great article in Norway where the police department over there and the government kind of teamed up and said, you know, we're seeing all these repeat calls. We're going out to a house where there's domestic abuse over and over again, or we're picking up the same guy off the street and trying to take him to a shelter or whatever, and there's a problem. And their solution, which, you know, and I actually love a lot of Norway government solutions, but is every police car now also has a mental health professional in the car.
Wow.
So if they go out for a domestic abuse call, there's a mental health professional right there. The help can immediately be seen by both parties if they happen to be there, and it gives a sense of comfort. Anyway, there's statistics of women that have and families that end up in crisis has gone way down simply because their approach to help and aid when somebody's in a problem is very different.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's just a lot of people struggling for different reasons, and if we can get them the right kind of help, mental health, you know, counseling for drug addiction, whatever the issue is, and sometimes it's just a good job. You know, one of the things that people sometimes do is they're homeless and they get a job for $15 an hour, $20 an hour. Well, it might get them out of the shelter. It doesn't get them out of poverty.
Right.
And you know, at the same time, you've got BNSF who is dying to find diesel mechanics that pay really good money. You got welding jobs where they don't have enough welders and they pay good. So I think part of the solution too is trying to figure out how you train some of these people that are capable and willing to get jobs that get them out of poverty altogether. I've often said, well, it's not easy to do. We started a drug rehabilitation program at the mission we call Breakout, and we have about 12 people in it right now. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You spend 1 year there. But the goal of that is to try to find them a job, because I think the greatest solution of all, to the degree you can do it, is not to move them into another government service, but if they come to the mission, they get them into a high-paying job where they don't need any more government services. So
Bingo.
It isn't getting them in the permanent supportive housing; it's getting them out of the need for permanent supportive housing from the get-go. And that you can't do that with everybody, but that's the number one solution.
Well,
Wow. Let's take it to a break. If anybody has any questions, you can call, you can text into us. And on the backside, we will, I want to talk a little bit about maybe some job training and a little bit more about mental health. So we'll do that on the backside of the break. You're listening to LIBA Business Hour.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong?
they find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here, summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
NEPCO is hiring CDL drivers for ready-mixed concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. NEPCO offers great pay, medical and retirement benefits, paid time off, and they pay for CDL training. Apply today and start your new career with a $2,500 hiring bonus. From NEPCO's beginning in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
All right, it's time for Final Jeopardy. It's been a tight contest today that all comes down to this final question. No summer picnic or family get-together or trip to the lake is complete without this particular item. Let's go first to Bob.
What is beer?
No, that's not it. Think about the kids. Over to you, Farley.
What is corn on the cob?
Tough to grill that on a boat. Wrong again. Grace, this time for the win.
What is Bure's cheese spread?
We have a winner! Bure's cheese spread, available in most local grocers in Nebraska.
On the block with Strick and Austin.
There's that pit in my stomach. I hope that knot gets untangled and untied so that the Royals can be in contention for the playoffs come late August into September. I'm not holding my breath for it, but before I freak out and lose my mind about how bad things are right now, I'm going to choose to look back at last year and remember how bad 56 and 106 felt.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What's your radon level at home? Don't know? Find out with a call to Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating, 467-1111 for radon testing and mitigation.
Play ball!
Tired of the same old routine? Then bring your crew out to Haymarket Park for a thrilling season of Lincoln Salt Dogs baseball and unleash the fun. Enjoy action-packed home games all week long from May through August. It's the perfect change-up to the typical family night or makes for a home run outing with friends and coworkers. Experience the magic and get in on the excitement. Visit saltdogs.com to secure your tickets now. Unleash the fun.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Back to the LIBA Business Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This segment sponsored by Ascend Aesthetics.
And we're back with the LIBA Business Hour, and our guest today is Pastor Tom from the City Mission. And, one thing that it seems like such a massive amount of work when you look at somebody who comes into the mission.
Yeah.
Their life is kind of on a downward trajectory.
Right.
They have an immediate need. They need food. They need a shelter. They need a place to stay, but they also need help kind of getting that life back on that upward trajectory. They're going to need job training and they're going to need opportunities and permanent housing, because you're not permanently housing these people. So what's the when they come in through that front door, how do you stop that downward trajectory, and what do you do to get that turned around and get them moving forward?
Oh, great question. A couple things. First, the two things we ask everybody that comes in that we see as our primary mission. The first thing is, how do we get you a permanent place to stay? So if you're homeless, our first job is to find you some resource in the city or somewhere to get you permanent housing. That's our number one goal. The number two goal right behind it is, why are you homeless? And what are your issues? And how do we find resources either in or outside the mission to start to get you help on some of those issues so that you don't stay homeless, or whatever's causing you to be homeless doesn't happen again. But what's generally universal among most everyone, with the exception of some of the chronically homeless guys, and I'll go in a minute what that issue is, but for most of them, the first thing you have to do is repair their esteem, because everybody comes to a shelter feels somewhat of failing, and it's just there. If you're living in a homeless shelter, you're not going to feel very good about it,
Right.
and about yourself either. And so it's trying to work on that esteem. It's letting them know things are going to be okay. For instance, we spend massive amounts of money on food, in hundreds of thousands of dollars, mainly buying from Pagler, Cisco, and Good Supplies. We try to make food as good as Village Inn, and one of the reasons we do that is food's a big marker. When you're sitting down, you're having a good meal, and it's good, and it's a clean place. That makes a difference. We train our people, although we're not always perfect at it, to treat everybody with respect and dignity. And we were talking off air how to de-escalate. And if someone takes off, you don't follow them, but you kind of de-escalate the situation. We work a lot on trying to train our supervisors on that, so that you're being treated well, and you're getting good food. It's a clean place to be, and the idea is things aren't that bad, and there's, whatever the issue is, we can solve it. Not necessarily at the mission, might be with some of the other resources in the city, but whatever it is, how do we get you feeling good about yourself? Because the truth is, all the casework in the world is not going to help you if you hate yourself.
Right.
It won't help you. So the thing you got to really do is work on that. You got to try to find out what are the issues, and like I said, they're pretty varied. Why people are homeless. And then always, how do we get you a place?
Yeah.
And that again is slightly a different issue. And our goal, at least with a few of our people, like I told you on the breakout, is to get them to a place where we get them a job and they don't need any help at all. Because for us, the greatest victory is moving people out of the government services altogether.
Right.
That's the number one thing we'd love to do. Obviously, can't do that with the majority of our guys, but we try with some.
Yeah. So once they get in, I assume you probably work with them to try and find like maybe a Section 8 housing or some type of government program to get them controlled rent.
Right.
And then once they get to that place, they have a job, they're moving in the right direction, do you continue to work with them, talk with them, or are they kind of on their own
they
now?
disappear on us.
Okay.
We are, I like to think of the mission, at least the shelter part. We have a couple different services we do that reach out much further than this. But for the shelter part, we're kind of like an expanded Red Cross. If your house burns down, the Red Cross shows up immediately and helps you.
Right.
Until you can kind of get some services. Missions were started for that sort of same reason. People that are homeless or need help, generally they have to wait some period of time before they find that help. Shelters were designed to house them during that time and help them make sure they don't get in trouble. And that was why they were originally developed. And so our first goal is immediate. We're a basic needs provider. That is, if you're homeless, you can come to the mission, get food, shelter, clothing, and you're going to be good. You're going to survive until you can find help. And that's our job. We have some programs like our Curtis Center, which is 2 years transitional housing, where it's a much longer thing. Our drug rehabilitation program is a year. Our help center out there, that's just helping people that are financially struggling, and they're repeat users probably for a lot of parts of their life. We give away millions of pounds of stuff. We have a free clinic in the back that people use on a regular basis. So there are other programs that are more longer term, but for shelter, that's a temporary thing to make sure you survive until you get longer term help. Once they get it, some will come back and volunteer and connect with us, but we don't have an ongoing relationship with them.
Yeah. So I know this is a broad question, but once somebody walks through your door, how long do they typically stay with you? Because that's got to, like I said, that's got to be a massive turnaround.
Yeah, all over the map. So let's start with the men's shelter. When you walk into the men's shelter, you sort of have two options. First option is you can stay 30 days and then you got to go for 30 days, come back for 30 days, stay for 30 days. And those are guys who really aren't interested in casework or getting much help. They might be on the streets for a while and they like being on the streets, whatever. But they come in, we keep them. We try to convince them to maybe take a longer view of things, but they just don't want much help. And so we do that because it's cheaper to bring the streets to us than it is to go out to the streets.
Yeah.
And so we bring the streets in. The second thing you do when you come in, if you say, well, look, I have an issue and I really want help, then we'll keep you 3, 4, 5 months and casework you and try to see what we can do to help you. And that's a second group of people. And I would say about half the guys do one and half the guys do the other. But in addition to that, if you're really serious, you can actually go into our transitional housing. So for some guys, they're saying we want or need longer term help. They can get a job at McDonald's. I think our rent's $600 a month, but that's all inclusive. That's food, shelter, bathroom soap, everything.
Sure.
Laundry soap. And that people can get a part-time job, stay there for 2 years. They can apply for Section 8 housing, for instance, which takes a long time for men. They can do any number of things if they really are looking for longer term help. So there's sort of a third rail that we do. And of course, our drug rehabilitation program, rehab program, and alcohol program is there. So that's on the men's shelter. On the family side, basically we keep them until they get Section 8 housing. So when they come in, that's usually 3 or 4 months, sometimes longer. It depends on how the money's flowing. Sometimes shorter. It just depends on how fast they've got money and they can find a place and get signed up. But we will keep them until they can get out and get housing. And that's a different program.
Yeah. So women and women with children, they get moved to the front of the line when it comes to
yes. In Section 8 housing, if you come stay at the mission, they usually pop you at the front of the line and you get help quicker.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Something we were talking about on break is I was mentioning, it seems to me, and I've lived in Lincoln my whole entire short life, it seems like there's more of a population downtown that even seems like it's a little more permanent. And I know that the city's approach, unless I'm incorrect, that I read is pretty much, it's a public street and it's the public place. You can live there and stay there with what you want. Where, it's a public access. I think that would be very different if they were at the Ridge or Wilderness or White Horse or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, that said, so that's kind of one part of the piece. But poor behavior should not be accepted at all anywhere. I know one time my daughter and I were going to the movie, and the things that were said to her were, it could have escalated really fast. I just kept the adult and we just boogied on. But poor behavior is not accepted. What's your view on that? Is it just a small segment of people that obviously have mental health issues? But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah. Well, it is a small group, and generally they're the guys and often the chronically homeless men. I don't think that anyone should accept bad behavior like defecating. I don't think because you're homeless that gives you a right to do that. And we certainly don't allow our guys that at the mission. If they do something wrong, and we've had them defecate on sometimes our building, break windows, fight, whatever, we make them leave for anywhere from 10 to 30 days, generally not longer than that. I think in my life, I'm the only one can ban somebody at the mission. I don't think I've banned more than 6 or 7 people in my 21 years, but so there are a few that we just say you can't come back.
Sure.
But most of the time it's just 20. But I think you certainly don't have to tolerate bad behavior because they're homeless or they have mental health issues. So no, I don't advise anybody do that. One, it's really not good for them because if they get away with it, that's not helping them because their way out is to get back to the mainstream of society, and that's not going to get them there.
Right.
That's just going to take them the
Sure.
opposite way. And so it's not good for them. It's not good for you. It's not good for the city. So no,
So-
I don't think you should ever tolerate bad behavior. But at the same time, understand
Yeah.
that, I'll give you an example. The other day, there was this young lady screaming at some of our staff, and they booted her out. Well, I happen to know this young lady because when she was a kid, she was at the mission, and she's now in her 30s. But I've known her obviously for a long, long time. She's
Sure.
come in and out with her mom and that. What people don't realize, heavily abused person, suffered massive issues, and probably part of what we call the walking wounded, just really damaged emotionally. Now, does she have a right to yell? Nope. And we did it. But I said, what you've got to do is you've really got to understand the background. And many times the solution, if you are confronted not with a defecating, that's wrong, but if someone is in your face or yelling and screaming, the thing to do is just de-escalate.
Right.
What many of these people will respond to a majority of the time at the mission is if you're calm, you explain things, you treat them with respect, even if they don't. This isn't a good analogy, but it's the best way to explain it. It's kind of like in a child-parent relationship. If your child is screaming or yelling, you don't become a kid. You stay the parent, and
Sure.
you help your kid. And the way you have to do that here, you just have to calm it down. And many, many times, if you're calm and you're saying, hey, let's calm it and just explain what's going on or what the issue is or find out what their problem is, they'll de-escalate. But because many of them have very poor coping skills, if you try to escalate on them, you're in a firefight right away because
Sure.
they have no filters. And so you really have to learn how to do that. And oftentimes that'll save people a lot. If you confront somebody who's not, just take it easy, just calm it down. And many times they'll do that. They believe everybody's against them. Many of them, they're thinking, what are you going to do to me next? They're looking from a very different filter, and you've got to understand that. And so I think you don't have to tolerate bad behavior, but you also have to be kind of street smart, about who you're dealing with,
Know
why
your
they're
audience.
there, and
Know your audience, basically.
absolutely.
Know who you're working with.
Yeah.
I get that. So being solution minded, having, so take this situation we have downtown now with some chronic homeless people that the behavior is bad and poor. People having
Yep.
things thrown at them. I mean, you name it,
Yep.
the whole gamut.
Yep.
They're angry and,
Yeah.
they've been not given a good hand in life in general. Picking them up and bringing them out to you, good idea, bad idea?
Good idea.
Bad?
But don't pick them up and bring them out. If you put them, I would recommend, they all know where the mission is.
Okay.
Send them to the mission. Generally, unless
Don't
we've
get there
asked
on
them
their
to
own.
leave, we take everybody. And, again, the mission is a place where when people are there, they tend, for the most part, to behave themselves. For
Sure.
instance, we've been around since 1907. No one's been killed at the mission. No one's been brutalized or anything else.
Yeah.
And we've had some interesting scenarios. One time, it's not funny, but it was almost funny. We had a woman who walked down, she was staying with us, walked down to the local U-Stop on the corner, pulled out a gun and robbed them, then walked back to the mission as they watched her walk back to the mission. So they called the police. Of course, they came and got her.
It's like robbing a bank using our own deposits.
And living across the street. Yeah.
But we have people that do all sorts of things outside. We've had a
Yeah.
few deaths of people that were killed or murdered right by us. They were staying at the mission, but they were good at the mission, but they weren't when they left.
Outside
And
the
so-
walls. Yeah.
So actually the mission is a pretty safe place. People think, oh my gosh, all those people.
Sure.
For whatever reason, when they're at the mission, they tend to behave themselves. And we have never had any major issues staying with us.
I told my daughter she was, and she's just very compassionate, which is awesome. That side of her personality is great. But she wanted to know when we went to the theater, I'm going to take some of my allowance money and give them money. So I had the discussion of what happens when you give them money. But I don't think a lot of people know that. There's panhandlers in more places now than there ever has been. And
Right.
people are passing out cash. And so I said to her, we talked about it. I mean, she
Yeah.
was maybe 8 or 10. I don't know. She was younger. Went to Dollar Tree, made some little packets of healthy things, toothpaste, munchies, those types of things.
Mhm.
And to her surprise, they were turned down.
Yeah.
And I said, that's just it. And I said, but money is not the answer because I think they're going to go either by alcohol, whatever their vice is what's going to be used for it. I remember handing out, McDonald's used to actually have little dollar gift cards, where you could get a Happy Meal for $1. And I would hand and they wouldn't want, some people would not want those, others would. So it's interesting thinking of solutions to these challenges. And I think so maybe the downtown issue or elsewhere might just be to kind of have people, off you go. You got to keep moving. You can't camp here for life and have this type of behavior. So that's maybe kind of the solution. Is I'm just thinking, I know the city's grown, but it seems like it's worse now than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
And it's going to keep, as we grow, it's going to get worse as,
Yeah.
It's getting worse in Omaha. And again, I think we're going to see a growing trend there. At some point, the city may have to do something.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not sure they do. A lot of the guys don't camp here, though. They camp in places where you can't see them.
Got it.
And the city's pretty good about letting them stay there. They haven't really
That's
harassed
cool.
them. And then when it gets cold, I'll be honest with you, when it gets below 30 degrees, everybody becomes a true believer and comes to the mission when
I know.
the weather gets really bad.
Right.
And we're there for them. And so we know all the guys camping. They'll come stay at the mission when
Yeah.
it's really bad weather. And sometimes they'll come eat with us. And so we're connected to them, but they like being out on their own. And that's
I remember the weather being really bad one Sunday when I was driving out there to play. I mean, snowstorm, 20 below. And the wind added to that.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to say, who was the gentleman who played? Brian, that was there for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And Brian said, Gary, you should see the men's dorm. We have people sleeping in. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the lack of space. And so you are building?
Yes.
Wanting to? Tell us about that. How can we help?
Sure. We're just in the process. We bought the land in front of. Has anybody been at the mission? It's on our south side. There's a big crane company there right now.
Right.
And,
yeah.
But we've got that whole block. And so we're going to tear it all down and we're going to put up 100-unit family shelter with a gymnasium, classroom for the kids, a really nice place. And then we're going to turn our entire current shelter into a men's shelter. That allows to house 350 guys and probably another 300 plus women and kids at the mission. And we'll still be one of the smallest shelters in Nebraska. If you look at Omaha, again, Omaha has that'll get us up to maybe one shelter in Omaha size. And so, but it'll help. I think it'll help us. And certainly for the guys, that allows to house all the men probably for many years to come because
it's nice.
Yeah.
We can chat more after the break. We're going to have to head to a break here, but Pastor Tom, it's such a joy having you here today on the LIBA Business Hour. For those of you listening, LIBA stands for Lincoln Independent Business Association. I've actually had some people ask what that is, which is a member organization. You can get a hold of Lori at LIBA.org if you have some more information about that, or Travis and myself, but we'll head off the break and we'll be back shortly.
Old School with DP and J.
And Todd Bowles, I'm gonna tell you this, DP, his voice does not match his body type.
That's what I'm saying. He's never I don't know how you can be led by Todd Bowles' voice.
That's a fireable offense anyway.
Like his facial expression is top notch. Then his voice, because it's literally you're there expecting. It's like Mike Tyson.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Take your internet service to new levels with Allo, your award-winning internet provider across our fiber hoods. Allo isn't just about the fastest internet available. It's about connecting you to your world, work, and play seamlessly. Our award-winning service ensures affordable, secure, and reliable connectivity, setting us apart. Ready to transform your internet experience? Experience the fiber difference today. Sign up now at allofiber.com. Allo, connecting your world.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Highball Bar in downtown Lincoln is open and located just north of 11th and O Street. Highball Bar offers a vibe and atmosphere like no other, making it the perfect place to grab a drink or beverage. Highball Bar features great events such as Karaoke Sunday, $4 Tito's on Mondays, Jack Daniel's specials on Wednesdays, and much more. Make Highball Bar your go-to spot after a hard day at work or on the weekend. Highball Bar, located at 122 North 11th Street in downtown Lincoln.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh yeah, this is a game changer. Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting book. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Back to the LIBA Business Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This segment sponsored by Integrated Behavioral Health Services.
And we're back for our last segment with Pastor Tom. We had touched briefly on the panhandler thing, and I have a question. It's, you know, when you get around like Walmart, for example, especially up on the north side, there seems to be a panhandler in every corner on every intersection. And they all have a little sign. Are those, because that it kind of smacks of a business to me, you know? Are they really homeless, or are they just making a couple of bucks?
Well, and how can you tell if they're homeless or not, or if they really are in need?
Sure. No, well, I'll give you a couple clues. First of all, about a third to 40% of the guys you see are not even staying at the mission, not homeless. In fact, our guys are mad at them because they're taking space, and they're just people needing some extra money, and usually have a pickup truck down the road a little ways that if you look around, you can see it. And there are people out doing that. So many of the panhandlers aren't homeless or anything else. The ones who are, in most cases, they're looking to buy something with it. You know, Lincoln has some massively good services. You've got Matt Talbot, you've got Gathering Place, the Mission, a lot of places to eat, places to sleep. You don't have to panhandle for basic food or that. What happens in the vast majority of the cases is they're using it to buy drugs or alcohol. And sometimes people will feel bad and they'll give someone $5. Well, they show up tonight drunk at the Mission, and now we have to deal with them because they got some booze money. And so I encourage people, don't do that. Give them a sandwich, do something else, but don't give them money. In most cases, it's not true, and it is a business. The part of me admires, and I probably shouldn't say this because it's not right, but it almost admires. There was one guy who was staying with us. I won't give you his name. This was years ago. Big, tall guy, 6'6". He was out at the Walmart panhandling, and he said, "Homeless vet." He wasn't a vet, and he had a dour face looking down. I drove by and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he looked at me and goes, "Hey, Pastor Tom," with a big smile on his face. And he goes right back to his drooped down face, because it's he knows how to do it. He's an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
he's making it happen. But yeah, don't generally do that. Most guys who are living on the streets don't need it. But if you want to know who a street guy is, I'll give you a little clue. They always have their stuff around their feet. If you're a homeless guy and you're living on the streets, you're not the mission, and you're in maybe some dire need, all your clothes, all your belongings are right around you because you're taking them with you. You're not leaving them somewhere. In most cases, if you look and you see someone and there's nothing around them, they A, ain't homeless, or B, all their stuff is in our locker room at the mission. They're looking for a good drink or something. I mean, that's what's happening. So that's something for folks to look at.
And so you think you're helping them, you're actually causing more problems because A, you're feeding their addiction, and B, they're going to show up at the mission if they actually are homeless in horrible shape.
Yeah, or in something we've got to deal with. So I encourage people. We all want to help, and I want to see people. Part of me says that with some regret because our goal is to get as many people to help homeless as we can. If you see a homeless person, help them. I mean, we want people. We're advocates for them. We want people helping them. But in that particular instance, that's not particularly helpful in many cases, or in fact, most cases.
Okay. So let's talk about how we're going to be able to help people, how our listeners can help you. I was going through the website. I saw you guys even have a list on Amazon where you can go and you can buy, because it's not just food. It's underwear and deodorant and razors and all those things that the rest of us need for everyday life. You guys you guys need those too. So
yeah, we sure do. I often say this, Travis. I need all your worldly possessions that you don't want.
Got it.
Because anything you have you don't want, we can use. And it isn't just at the shelter, it's also at our help center. We help, I think, 25,000 unduplicated people there with stuff. I mean, there's nothing you have we can't move, and move pretty fast. I know in one day without shoes that the Cornerstone Bank does, they raised, I think, close to 50,000 pairs of shoes.
Wow.
They were gone in 3 weeks. We moved them. And so we can move massive amounts of merchandise just because the need is there. And so if people have something they're not sure of and it's in good shape, just donate it to us. I promise we'll get it to somebody in need.
See, you should start a campaign reaching out to wives, getting rid of husband stuff. Because if you talk to my wife, she would probably get rid of half of my stuff. And then I can't complain because it went to help people. It went to the mission. There you go. There's your marketing idea of the day.
There you go. I'm liking that. That's a good idea. Although the husbands may not want to donate to me after that.
Well, they'll have nothing left.
Yeah, that's
exactly. True. So we can go to your webpage, find out, get connected to Amazon and order things you need. We can bring things to the shelter. We can bring them to your drop-off sites. What if we have something a little bit bigger, like a coffee table or end table? Where does
we
that
take
go?
furniture, and that goes to the help center out there right behind East Park Theaters at, I think it's 68th and P Street.
Okay, so 68th and P.
It's right where the old laser tag used to be. Right in
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right behind East Park.
Ardan's years ago, for those of us that are seasoned as me.
That's right.
Nice.
Do you guys take vehicles?
We do.
I mean, I hear the national ads and go, why are we giving cars to this national company? There's got to be local people.
We get cars all the time.
Nice.
Give us, and we just ask that they be in good enough shape to drive, because most of the homeless people we have, they can't fix much.
Right.
And so
or afford a mechanic.
Yeah. So if it's drivable, it doesn't have to be like a Greg, but if it's drivable and there's nothing majorly wrong, like needs a transmission or something like that. So
guess what?
Time's up. How's that?
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having us out. And the website?
PCMLincoln.org.
Fantastic. This is the LIBA Business Hour, and we will see you next Saturday.
Coming up next, we got the Movement Hour. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The Electrical Workers of Local